My name is Savannah Draper, and I'm 29 years old. On my wedding day, my photographer pulled me aside during the reception and said 6 words that changed everything. You need to see this video. What I saw on that small laptop screen, my mother-in-law alone in the bridal suite doing something to my wedding dress before the ceremony made my blood run cold. Her hands moved with purpose. She'd brought her own tool. This wasn't an accident. But the thing that shook me most wasn't what Judith did. It was what me husband did after he watched that video. He watched it once, then he watched it again. Then he stood up, walked out of that office, and went straight to his mother's table. 200 guests stopped talking. Before I tell you everything, if you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to hit subscribe, but only if you genuinely like what you hear. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I love knowing who's out here with me. Now let me take you back 6 months before the wedding, the night Marcus proposed, and the phone call from his mother that should have been my first real warning. Marcus proposes at Barlow's, this little Italian place off Route 9 where we had our first date. Checkered tablecloth, candle in a wine bottle, nothing fancy. He slides the ring across the table instead of getting down on one knee because he knows I'd die of embarrassment in a crowded restaurant. That's the kind of man he is. He pays attention. I say yes before finishes the sentence. We drive home with the windows down and I call my dad first. Lloyd Draper, 63, retired carpenter, man of few words. He says, "Good, he's a good one." That's a full speech from my father. Then Marcus calls his mother. Judith Harding picks up on the second ring. Marcus puts her on speaker, grinning. "Mom," Savannah said, "yes, we're engaged." 3 seconds of silence. I count them. Well, Judith says, "I suppose you've made up your mind." No congratulations, no excitement, just that flat tone like she's reading a weather forecast she doesn't like. "I just hope you know what you're getting into," she adds. Marriage in this family isn't easy. Marcus mouths sorry to me, covers the phone. That's just how Mom is. She'll warm up. I nod. I've been nodding for 4 years. After he hangs up, Marcus squeezes my hand. She means well. Give her time. What I don't say, Judith introduced Marcus to Paige Whitmore 3 separate times last year. Paige, daughter of Judith's best friend, Carol, old money, sorority connections, the kind of girl Judith picked out for her son, the way she picks out curtains. Marcus turned her down all 3 times, but never told his mother why. I didn't know that phone call was just the opening act. 2 months before the wedding, I go dress shopping with Mel, my best friend, maid of honor, the person who once drove 3 hours at midnight because I called her crying after my mom's funeral. Mel doesn't do half measures. The bridal shop is in Carterville, 40 minutes from our town. I've been looking forward to this for weeks, just me, Mel, and a rack of white dresses. We're on the second dress when the door chimes. Judith walks in carrying a latte. "Marcus mentioned you were here. I thought I'd come help." Mel's jaw tightens. I shake my head at her barely, just enough. "That's nice of you, Judith. Come sit." She doesn't sit. She stands behind me at the mirror and starts commenting. "That one makes your hips look wide. This fabric feels cheap, doesn't it?" Paige wore Vera Wang at her cousin's wedding. Stunning. I try on an A-line dress with lace overlay, modest neckline, fitted waist, a train that pulls just right. When I look in the mirror, something settles in my chest. This is it. Judith tilts her head. "It's fine if that's what you can afford." Mel steps forward. I catch her arm. "Judith, I appreciate you coming, but I've already made my choice." Judith smiles. That thin-lipped smile I know by heart. "Of course, sweetheart." On the way out, Mel grabs my elbow. "She photographed your dress. I saw her take a picture when you weren't looking, so she sent it to someone. I watched her texting. I find out later she sent it to Donna, Marcus's older sister, with the caption, 'This is what she picked. Thoughts?'" I should have paid more attention to that photo. 6 weeks before the wedding, I open my email and find a message from our caterer. "Hi, Savannah. Per Mrs. Harding's request, we've updated the menu to a 3-course plated dinner. The revised quote is attached. I click the attachment. The number is double our original budget. Marcus and I chose a barbecue buffet, brisket, Kleslaw, cornbread, our people, our style, our price range. I picked every item. I called Judith. My voice is steady, but my knuckles are white around the phone. "Did you change our catering menu?" I was helping Savannah. That buffet was embarrassing. What would people think? They'd think we're having the wedding wetland. You're being dramatic. I made one phone call. I hang up and call Marcus. He talks to his mother. 20 minutes later, he calls back. She cried. Sav, she said nobody appreciates her. Did she agree to change it back? Silence. Then can we just let her have this one? No, Marcus, we can't. I call the caterer myself, reverse the order, confirm the barbecue. When I do, the caterer pauses and says, Mrs. Harding was very insistent. Are you sure? I'm sure. That night I learned from Donna that Judith called her afterward crying. She's impossible. She won't let me do anything. The next morning, I open an email from Rachel Torres, our wedding photographer. She's confirming the timeline and mentions setting up a time-lapse camera in the bridal suite. I usually place a small GoPro on a tripod to capture behind-the-scenes getting ready footage, she writes. Brides love it. Want me to do the same for yours? I type back. Sounds great. Go for it. I didn't think about that camera again for 6 weeks. 3 weeks before the wedding, I drive to the Harding house to pick up the guest list from Frank, Marcus's dad. Frank is 62, quiet, the kind of man who keeps his head down and his lawn trimmed. He told me the list would be on the kitchen counter. I let myself in through the side door. Frank's truck is in the driveway. Judith's car, too. I'm halfway down the hall when I hear her voice from the living room. She's on the phone speaking clearly the way she does when she wants to sound certain. She's a vet, Carol, a vet tech. I stop walking. My son could have had Paige, educated, connected from a family we know. Instead, he's marrying a girl whose father builds shelves for a living. My hand is on the wall. I don't move. I've done everything I can. He won't listen, but mark my words. This marriage won't last 2 years. I stand there 10 seconds, 20. My pulse in my throat, my vision blurring, my hand pressed flat against the wallpaper. Then I walk into the kitchen. Judith sees me from the doorway. Our eyes meet. She knows. Her mouth opens, then closes. The phone is still against her ear. I came for the guest list. I say Frank said it's on the counter. I pick up the folder, walk out, don't look back. In my car, I cry for 10 minutes. Hard, ugly, shaking hands, crying. Then I wipe my face, start the engine, and drive home. I don't tell Marcus. I don't want him to choose between his mother and his wife 3 weeks before our wedding. That was the biggest mistake I made, keeping that secret. But not for the reason you'd think. Rehearsal dinner, the Harding backyard, string lights, about 30 people, both families, the wedding party, a few close friends. Judith has been planning this dinner for months. Everything matches. The napkins, the centerpieces, the playlist controlled down to the last detail. After the main course, Judith stands up to toast. She holds her glass of white wine like a scepter. The yard goes quiet. I always imagined Marcus's wedding a little differently, she says, smiling warmly. But life doesn't always go according to plan, does it? A few polite laughs. My stomach tightens. She talks about Marcus as a boy. T-ball, his first fish, the summer he broke his arm climbing the oak tree. Sweet stories. The kind of stories a mother tells when she loves her son. Then, and of course, his friend Paige, remember how inseparable those two were. She glances at me just a flicker. She wraps up her toast. To Marcus, may you always find your way home. She sits down, the yard claps. She never said my name, not once. Under the table, my dad's rough carpenter hand finds mine and squeezes. Mel leans over from my left. That was deliberate. I know. What are you going to do? Nothing. Not tonight. I raise my glass. I smile. I eat dessert. I hug guests on the way out. I do everything right. But when Marcus walks me to my car, I say it. Your mom didn't say my name, Marcus. Not once. He's quiet for a long moment. Then I know I noticed. I'm sorry. I need to know. If something happens tomorrow, will you stand with me? Not between us, with me. He holds my face with both hands. I will, I promise. I drive home holding that promise like a lifeline. The night before my wedding, I sleep in my old bedroom at my dad's house. Faded blue walls, the dresser I've had since middle school. The window that still sticks when it rains. The house is quiet. Dad went to bed at 9 with a glass of milk and a paperback Western. Same as always. I sit on the edge of the bed and look at the framed photo on my nightstand. My mother, Susan, taken the year before she got sick. She's standing in the garden, dirt on her knees, laughing at something Dad said. She died when I was 19. Breast cancer, fast and merciless. Mom would have loved Marcus. She would have seen straight through Judith in about 10 seconds. And she would have told me gently, firmly, the way she said everything to stop making excuses for that woman a long time ago. Marcus calls at 11. His voice is soft. I can hear the hotel room TV on in the background. Some sports channel, low volume. You okay? He asks, just thinking about tomorrow, about everything. He's quiet then. I meant what I said tonight at the car, I know. If she does something, anything, I'll be there. Just don't let me stand alone, Marcus. You won't. I promise. After we hang up, I pull the covers up and stare at the ceiling. Tomorrow, Rachel Torres will be at the venue by 8 to set up. She'll place that little camera in the bridal suite before 9. She mentioned it again in her final timeline email. I fall asleep with Marcus's promise in my ear and my mother's photo watching from the nightstand. I don't know that in less than 18 hours, Marcus will have to keep that promise in front of every person we've ever known. Wedding morning, 8:30. The bridal suite at Magnolia Country Club. High ceilings, a wall of windows letting in soft Georgia light, a vanity lined with brushes and bobby pins. The air smells like hairspray and roses. Rachel Torres arrives first. 34 steady hands, camera bag slung over one shoulder. She's been shooting weddings for 10 years and runs her setup like clockwork. She places a small GoPro on a tripod in the far corner, angled toward the vanity and the dress rack. This will catch all the getting ready magic, she says. You won't even notice it's there. I nod, distracted. I'm watching Mel steam the wrinkles out of my veil. By 9, the room is full. Mel, my cousins Amy and Brooke, the makeup artist, the energy of women getting ready together. There's laughter and champagne and a playlist Mel made called Sav's Big Day. At 9:45, there's a knock on the door. Judith. She's in a slate blue mother of the groom dress, hair done, pearl earrings. She's carrying a small velvet box. Can I come in? I brought something for you. She opens the box. Inside a pair of antique drop earrings, gold and garnet. These were my mother's. Every Harding bride wears them. My throat tightens. Judith, they're beautiful, thank you. She clasps them on me herself. Her fingers are cool against my neck. For a moment, just a moment, I think maybe I was wrong, maybe she's trying. She stays, sits on the settee, watches me get ready. When the makeup artist finishes my eyes, Judith comes close and touches the lace on my dress hanging from the rack. The lace is delicate, she says quietly. I smile. It's perfect. She smiles back and I believe her. That's the last time I'll believe anything, she says. 10:30. Rachel checks the light outside and turns to me. The garden light is perfect right now. If we do your bridal portraits now, we'll catch the best sun before the ceremony. I've already had my dress on for 20 minutes, laced up, train fluffed, veil pinned. I gather the skirt and Mel takes one side. Everyone, let's head out. Rachel says, I want the bride, the bridesmaids, and the veil by the stone wall. Judith shifts on the settee, rubbing her right knee. You girls go ahead. My knee is acting up. I'll stay here and make sure nobody touches anything. Mel glances at me. Something flickers across her face. Not suspicion, not yet, just awareness. Sure, Judith, I say. We'll be back in 20 minutes. We file out. Rachel leads us down the hallway and out the side entrance to the garden. Behind us, the bridal suite door closes. Judith is alone. What happens next? I won't see until hours later, but the GoPro sees everything. Judith stands up. No limp, no knee trouble. She walks to the door and listens, footsteps fading. Then she turns around. She opens her purse, the quilted one she carries to church every Sunday. She reaches inside and pulls out a small metal tool, a seam ripper, the kind you'd find in any sewing kit, thin as a pen, sharp as intent. She walks to the dress rack where my backup garment bag hangs, but that's empty. My dress is on me outside, so she waits. No, she doesn't wait. She looks at the door. She looks at the clock on the wall. She sits back down, seam ripper in her lap because she knows I'll take the dress off when I come back. Brides always do to rest before the ceremony and she'll be ready. We come back from photos at 11. I'm glowing, laughing. Rachel got a shot of me and Mel mid-dance in the garden. That's going to be incredible. The Georgia sun is warm on my shoulders. Back in the suite, Judith is sitting in the same spot scrolling her phone. Everything's fine, she says. Your dress area is just how you left it. I unzip the back of my gown. Standard pre-ceremony routine. No bride sits in full dress for 2 hours before walking the aisle. Mel helps me step out and hang it carefully back on the padded hanger. I need water and a granola bar, I say. Ceremony isn't until 1. Judith offers to get me water. She leaves the room. She comes back 4 minutes later with a bottle of Evian and a smile. I don't notice that my dress has been touched. The lace looks the same. The zipper is fine, but inside along the lining at the lower back and waist, the stitching has been cut. Clean, deliberate strokes with a seam ripper. The lining that gives the bodice its structure is hanging by threads. At 12:45, I put the dress back on. Mel laces me up. Something feels slightly different. Looseness in the lower back I didn't notice before, but I chalk it up to nerves. My hands are shaking. My dad is waiting in the hall. The ceremony is beautiful. Small white church, 200 guests, sunlight through stained glass. Lloyd walks me down the aisle. His hand covers mine on his arm, steadier than I deserve. Marcus stands at the altar, eyes red. He mouths, "You look perfect." We say our vows. We kiss. The church erupts. Judith sits in the front row smiling. A smile I now have a name for. She's waiting for the first dance. I have to pause here for a second. During that ceremony, I was the happiest I've ever been. I had no idea the dress I was wearing had already been sabotaged. I walked down that aisle not knowing my mother-in-law had taken a seam ripper to my wedding gown. If you're listening and you've ever had someone try to destroy a moment that should have been yours, you know this feeling. Hit that like button so I know you're here with me. And hold on, because what happens at the reception is the part that changed me forever. Cocktail hour. The patio at Magnolia Country Club, stone pavers, white lanterns, a bar draped in greenery, 200 guests holding champagne flutes and small plates of shrimp. The sky is that particular shade of Georgia gold that only shows up in late afternoon. I'm moving through the crowd with Marcus, shaking hands, accepting hugs, hearing the same phrases on repeat. "You look beautiful. What a perfect day. Your mother would be so proud." That last one hits every time I smile through it. Across the patio, Rachel sits at a small table near the catering entrance. She's pulled out her laptop and started backing up photos. Standard workflow, she told me once. Shooters back up cards early to avoid losing anything. She opens the GoPro folder. Thumbnails load in a grid. Most of them are what you'd expect. Us getting ready. Mel steaming the veil. Me laughing with my cousins. But one frame catches her eye. A figure standing at the dress rack alone. Hands doing something she can't quite make out at thumbnail size. Rachel clicks on it, scrubs the timeline forward, pauses. She tilts her head, looks closer. She can't tell exactly what's happening. Not on the small screen, not in this light, but something is off. The body language is wrong. The posture is purposeful, not casual. She glances toward the patio. Judith is standing by the bar with Carol Whitmore laughing, holding her wine glass with the easy grace of a woman who believes she's gotten away with something. Rachel closes the laptop. She has a reception to shoot. Toasts, cake cutting, first dance. She'll look at it properly later, but something nags at her. 10 years behind a camera, and she's learned to trust what the lens sees over what people say. She keeps shooting, but she doesn't forget. The reception starts inside the banquet hall. Round tables for 10, ivory linens, candles flickering, and mason jars. The DJ plays low background music while guests find their seats. Marcus pulls my chair out for me at the head table. I sit, smooth my skirt, and feel it. A shift, subtle. The lower back of the dress slides against my skin where it shouldn't, like something underneath has come loose. I press my hand against the fabric. It seems fine from the outside. I sit up straighter, thinking I imagined it. When the appetizers arrive, I stand to greet a table of Marcus's coworkers. The motion is ordinary. Push the chair back. Stand, smooth the dress. But as I straighten, the lining pulls away from the waist seam. Just a fraction, I feel it separate like a whisper. I reach back, run my fingers along the zipper. Zipper is fine. The outer fabric holds, but something underneath is wrong. Mel appears at my elbow. She's watching my hand on my back. "Your dress looks a little loose back here," she says quietly. Is the zipper okay? She checks. Zipper's good. That's weird. Probably just stretched from sitting. You sure? I'm sure. I turn back to the table and I catch it. Just barely, almost not at all. Judith, 3 tables away, watching me, watching my hand on my back. And for 1/2 second before she lifts her wine glass to her lips, her mouth curves. Not a smile you'd show your daughter-in-law. A smile you'd show the punchline of a joke only you know. Mel sees it too. She doesn't say anything, but her hand finds my wrist under the table and squeezes once hard. Something is very wrong with my dress. Speeches. The best man, Marcus's college roommate Danny, goes first. Funny, short, heartfelt. He calls Marcus the most stubborn man he's ever met, which is exactly why he waited 4 years to propose. He had to be sure, and he's sure. Then Mel, she talks about my mother, about the night Mom died, and I sat on the hospital floor and said, I don't know how to be in the world without her. Mel says, you figured it out and now you've built a life your mom would have been so proud of. The room is quiet. Marcus takes my hand. Then Judith stands and she is, I have to say this, flawless. She speaks warmly. She says my name 3 times. She calls me brave and devoted. She says, when Marcus brought Savannah home the first time, I knew this girl had something special. Welcoming a new daughter into our family is one of the great joys of my life. 200 people dab their eyes. Someone at table 9 says, what a beautiful family. I sit there thinking, was I wrong? Judith walks over. Shelleyans down and hugs me. The room applauds. Cameras flash. And while she holds me, her mouth close to my ear, she whispers 4 words so softly that only I can hear them. Enjoy it while it lasts. My blood goes cold. My arms stay around her. My smile stays in place because 200 people are watching and I am not going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. She pulls back, pats my shoulder, and returns to her seat. Marcus is clapping. He didn't hear. Nobody heard. I keep smiling for theirs to the toast. My hands are trembling under the tablecloth, and 30 minutes from now, Rachel Torres is going to change everything. The DJ calls us to the floor for our first dance. Marcus takes my hand and leads me to the center of the room. The song starts at last because Marcus's grandmother loved Etta James and I wanted to honor that. We sway. His hand rests on my lower back. 200 people form a soft circle around us. Phones out, candles flickering. Then Marcus spins me and I feel it. A sharp tug at my waist, inside where the lining meets the bodice. A sound like thread snapping. Quiet enough that only I hear it over the music. Something inside the dress tears open about 3 in. I stop moving. My hand flies to my back. You okay? Marcus murmurs. My dress feels tight, just go slow. We finish the dance barely moving. More of a long hug than a waltz. The crowd thinks it's romantic. It is survival. The song ends. Applause. I smile, wave, and walk directly to the restroom. Not running, not fast, just purposeful. Mel follows without being asked. I lock the door, turn my back to the mirror, and look over my shoulder. The lining is shredded. 6 in of torn fabric along the lower back where the structural stitching held the bodice to the skirt. The outer lace is still intact, barely held up by its own weight. One more spin, one more deep bend, and the whole back would have split open in front of everyone. Something's wrong with my dress, I say. The lining is destroyed. Mel crouches behind me, examines the damage. Her face changes. This wasn't from wearing it. Look at these edges. They're clean. Somebody cut this. We look at each other and the same name hangs between us unspoken. Then someone knocks on the door. Savannah. Rachel's voice low and urgent. I need to show you something right now. I open the door. Rachel steps inside, laptop under her arm. She looks at the torn lining, then at my face. Her jaw sets. I was backing up the memory cards and checked the GoPro footage from the bridal suite, she says. I almost skipped it, but something in one of the frames made me look twice. She opens the laptop on the bathroom counter, clicks play. The bridal suite, empty, sunlight coming through the windows. The GoPro timestamp reads 10:47 a.m., 20 minutes into our outdoor portrait session. Judith stands up from the settee. No limp, no knee trouble. She walks to the door, listens, then she turns around. She opens her purse, takes out a small metal tool, thin, pointed, a seam ripper. She walks to the dress hanging on the rack, midress. She lifts the skirt, finds the lining at the lower back, and begins cutting. Precise strokes, each one deliberate. She knows exactly where to place the blade. 4 minutes. She works for 4 minutes. Then she puts the seam ripper back in her purse, returns to the settee, and picks up her phone as casual as if she just checked a text message. The screen freezes on her face, calm, satisfied. I watch it once without speaking. Then I watch it again. Mel has her hand over her mouth. She planed this, I say. My voice sounds far away, like it belongs to someone steadier than I feel. She brought the tool from home. Rachel closes the laptop. What do you want to do? I look at the torn lining of my wedding dress. I think about the toast, the whisper, the smile at the dinner table. I want my husband to see this. Rachel and I find Marcus near the bar talking to his uncle. I touch his arm. I need you right now. It's important. His face shifts instantly. He follows me without a question. Down the hallway past the restrooms into the venue manager's small office, Mel stands guard at the door. Rachel sets the laptop on the desk. I need you to watch something, I say, and I need you to watch it twice. He sits. Rachel hits play. The first time through, Marcus doesn't move. His hands are flat on his thighs. His jaw tightens. A muscle twitches near his temple. I watch his eyes track his mother's hands as she lifts the skirt, finds the lining, positions the blade again, he says. Rachel replays the video. This time Marcus leans forward. His knuckles go white on his knees. He watches her calmly sit down afterward, pick up her phone, cross her legs. The video ends. The room is silent except for the muffled bass of the DJ through the walls. Marcus turns to me. His eyes are red but dry. She brought a seam ripper. She brought it from home. Yes, your dress. During the dance. That's why you stopped moving. Yes, he looks at the frozen frame on the screen. His mother's face composed, scrolling her phone. 10 seconds off silence. 15. Then he says quietly, last night I promised you. I promised I'd stand with you. I remember. He stands up. Something in him has shifted, not rage, not the explosive kind. Something colder, more permanent. The kind of decision that doesn't unmake itself. Then let me keep my promise. I catch his arm. Marcus, don't yell. Don't make a scene, just tell the truth. He nods, opens the door, steps into the hallway. I follow him out. The reception is in full swing. Guests dancing, laughing, forks clinking against plates. The cake hasn't been cut yet. Children are chasing each other between tables. The DJ is playing something upbeat with a horn section. Marcus walks through the middle of the dance floor. He doesn't hurry. He doesn't slow down. He walks the way a man walks when he's made a decision he can't take back. Mel sees his face first. She stops mid-con conversation and puts down her champagne glass. A bridesmaid near the cake table notices and goes still. Danny, the best man, looks up from his phone. One by one, people notice. The way you notice a shift in weather. Not all at once, but in a wave. Conversations thin. Heads turn. The laughter doesn't stop so much as it drains away like water finding a crack in the floor. The DJ lowers the volume, not because anyone told him to, because he can feel it. Marcus reaches table 4, Judith's table. She's sitting between Frank and Carol Whitmore. A half-empty glass of Riesling in front of her, a napkin folded neatly in her lap. 2 other couples from her church circle fill the remaining seats. Judith looks up and smiles. The kind of smile that expects compliments. Marcus, darling, come sit with us. He doesn't sit. He stands in front of her table, shoulders square. I stop 3 steps behind him, close enough to be part of this, far enough to let him lead. The last few conversations die. Silverware goes quiet. Somewhere near the bar, a glass is set down. The room holds 200 people, and every single one of them is looking at table 4. Marcus opens his mouth. His voice is low, clear, the kind of quiet that fills a room because everyone is already listening. Mom, before the ceremony today, while Savannah was outside taking photos, you were alone in the bridal suite. Judith's smile stays. I was resting my knee, Marcus. What's this about? You opened your purse. You took out a seam ripper. And you cut the lining of my wife's wedding dress so it would rip apart during our first dance. The room doesn't gasp. It doesn't murmur. It does something worse. It goes completely silent. The kind of silence that has physical weight pressing down on everyone. Judith's smile vanishes. That's absurd. I would never. It's on video, Mom. The photographer's camera was in the room. I watched it twice. The color drains from Judith's face, from her cheeks, her lips, her composure. I watch it happen in real time, like watching someone step off a ledge they didn't know was there. Frank turns in High's chair. Judith. Judith's mouth opens, closes, opens again. I was just looking at the dress. Didn't you brought the tool from home? Marcus's voice hasn't risen, not once. This wasn't an accident. At the next table, Marcus' Aunt Helen, a woman who has attended every Harding holiday for 30 years without saying a controversial word, sets down her fork and looks at Judith with an expression I've never seen on her face before. Carol Whitmore stares at her plate. Her fingers are wrapped around her clutch. The silence stretches. 5 seconds, 10. Nobody helps Judith. Nobody offers an excuse. Nobody says, "I'm sure there's an explanation." Because the explanation is standing at the table in a slate blue dress and she's run out of lies. Judith's survival instinct kicks in the way it always does. She starts to cry. "How can you do this to me?" Her voice cracks, pitches upward. "At your own wedding in front of everyone." She presses a napkin to her eyes. "I'm your mother, Marcus." The tears come fast, practiced. The same tears she cried when Marcus changed the catering back. The same tears she cried when he got engaged instead of choosing Paige. "I've done everything for you, everything. And this is how you repay me." She turns to Frank, reaching for his arm. "Frank, say something. Tell them this is a misunderstanding." Frank doesn't move. His hands stay flat on the tablecloth. His eyes are fixed on some middle distance between the centerpiece and the floor. He looks like a man who's been watching this scene play out for 35 years and has finally run out of ways to look away. Donna stands at the next table. She's holding a water glass so tightly I can see her knuckles. She doesn't speak, doesn't move toward her mother, doesn't move toward us. She just stands there, caught between two truths. Carol Whitmore rises quietly, picks up her clutch, and walks toward the exit without looking back. "You're all turning against me." Judith's voice is raw now, desperate. "I'm the victim here. I'm being humiliated in front of a voice cuts through, calm, firm, unexpected." "Judith, stop." Aunt Helen, still seated, napkin in her lap. Her voice carries the weight of a woman who has earned the right to be heard. "We all see you." 3 words and they land like a verdict. Judith's crying stops mid-breath. She stares at Helen. The room stares at Helen. And for the first time tonight, Judith Harding has no script to follow. I step forward, not in front of Marcus, beside him. His hand finds mine. I let it. The room is watching. Every face, every table. I can feel the weight of 200 pairs of eyes, but I'm not shaking anymore. "Judith." My voice is steady, quiet, not angry. "I have spent 4 years trying to earn your respect." She opens her mouth. I keep going. "I changed catering menus. I smiled through a rehearsal toast where you forgot my name. I stood in your hallway 3 weeks ago and listened to you tell Carol I wasn't good enough for your son." The room shifts, a low murmur, barely a breath. Judith's face goes rigid. I heard you, Judith, word for word. Yvette Carroll. My son could have had Paige. Carol Whitmore is already gone. But the empty chair where she sat is its own kind of evidence. I'm not angry, I say. And I mean it. I'm exhausted. I'm heartbroken. I'm standing in a wedding dress with a shredded lining in front of every person I love. And I'm telling the truth for the first time in 4 years. I'm done. You don't have to love me, but you will not hurt me. Not today. Not ever again. The words hang in the air. Nobody moves. I turn to Marcus. "Thank you for keeping your promise." He squeezes my hand. We turn together and walk back toward our table. Not fast, not slow, together. At the edge of the room by the service entrance, my dad is standing. Lloyd Draper, 63 years old, retired carpenter, not a man who makes speeches. His eyes are red. He doesn't say anything. He just nods. And that nod holds everything my mother would have said. The next 30 minutes are the strangest of my life. Judith sits at her table crying softly. Frank doesn't touch her. He sits with his hands in his lap, staring ahead, a man finally seeing the shape of the cage he's been living in. Donna comes back from the hallway with mascara-streaked cheeks and sits at an empty table by the wall alone. No one goes to table 4, not one person, but people come to ours. Marcus's Aunt Helen walks over, squeezes my hand, and says, "You handled that with more grace than most people could manage." A woman I barely know, wife of Marcus's colleague, leans down and whispers, "We see you, we believe you." Mel sits next to me and puts her arm around my shoulders. "You good?" "No, but I will be." The DJ, bless him, reads the room. He puts on something soft and instrumental. The dance floor stays empty for a few minutes. Then a few kids wander out, then a couple, then another. Life creeps back in the way it does after a storm. At table 4, Judith stands. Frank stands with her. They gather there thingsquietly. Nobody stops them. Nobody hugs them goodbye. They leave through the side exit. The door clicks shut. Mel disappears and comes back 3 minutes later with a garment bag. Inside, a simple white sundress, cotton, no lining. "I packed it this morning," she says, "just in case." I change in the restroom, and when I come back out, I feel lighter. Not just the fabric, the weight. Marcus holds out his hand. "Dance with me." We dance, and this time I move freely. Rachel appears at the edge of the floor. She catches my eye and Myth's. "I'll send you everything," I mouth back. "Thank you for not looking the other way. I want to ask you something. Have you ever had to draw a line with someone you wanted to love you? Not an enemy, not a stranger, but someone who was supposed to be family." If this story is hitting close to home, drop a comment and tell me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Hit that button, tap the bell, because the last part of this story, what happened in the weeks after the wedding, is what finally taught me what the word family actually means. The morning after our wedding, I wake up in a hotel room in Carterville. Marcus is sitting on the edge of the bed, still in his undershirt, staring at the carpet. He hasn't slept. I keep thinking about the seam ripper, he says without turning around. She went to her sewing kit. She picked it out. She put it in her purse. She drove to the venue and she waited until everyone left the room. He runs both hands through his hair. That's not a moment off weakness, Sav. That's a plan. I sit up, put my hand on his back. So what do? We talk for 2 hours. Room service coffee goes cold on the nightstand. By the time we're done, we've made 3 decisions. 1, no more direct contact with Judith. Not blocked, but no calls, no visits, no holidays, space. 2, Marcus will send a letter laying out 3 conditions for restoring contact. Acknowledge what she did. No excuses, apologize to me directly. Commit to family therapy. 3, this is not negotiable. Marcus writes the letter that afternoon on his laptop, sitting cross-legged on the hotel bed. I read it once and tell him it's fair. He sends it by email, so there's a record. Then he calls Frank. "Dad, you know what she did. If you want to talk, I'm here, but I'm not going to pretend this didn't happen." Frank is quiet for a long time. When he speaks, his voice is thick. I know. "Son, I should have said something a long time ago." Marcus hangs up and cries hard, shaking, face in his hands, crying. That kind of crying that comes when you finally stop holding the door shut and let the flood in. I hold him. I don't say anything. Some things don't need words. 3 days after the wedding, Marcus' letter reaches Judith. The email is clean. No hostility, no insults, just facts and conditions. "Mom, what you did to Savannah's dress was deliberate and cruel. I love you, but I can't maintain a relationship with someone who tried to humiliate my wife on our wedding day. If you want to repair this, here's what you need. Acknowledge what you did without excuses. Apologize to Savannah directly. Commit to family therapy. Until those things happen, we need space." Judith doesn't respond to Marcus. She responds through Donna. Donna texts Marcus. "Mom says, you've been brainwashed." She says, "Savannah has turned you against your own family." She's devastated. Marcus reads the text, locks his phone, and sets it face down on the kitchen table. He doesn't reply. Later that evening, Donna texts me separately, different tone, quieter. "I'm not defending what Mom did, but she's my mother. I don't know what to do." I type back carefully. "You don't have to choose, Donna, but I won't pretend it didn't happen." 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. "Did she really say that about you? The vet thing?" "Yes," to Carol Whitmore. I heard it myself 3 weeks before the wedding. A long pause. Then, "I'm sorry, Savannah, I didn't know." Something in those 4 words, "I didn't know," feels different from everything else that's come from the Harding side. It doesn't excuse. It doesn't defend. It just sits there honest and uncomfortable, like someone turning on a light in a room they've been pretending was empty. Donna doesn't say anything else that night, but she doesn't defend Judith either. For the first time in 4 years, someone in that family chose the truth over comfort. Even if it was just a text message, even if it was just a start. Small towns don't need social media. They have something faster. Sunday morning and the produce section at Hank's Market. Within a week, every person who was at our wedding has told the story to at least 3 people who weren't. 200 guests multiplied by curiosity. The math is brutal. At Grace Fellowship Church, where Judith has been a member for 22 years, sits on the women's ministry board and organizes the annual Easter brunch, the news arrives like weather unavoidable. The first Sunday after the wedding, Judith shows up. She normally sits in the 3rd row, right side, and greets people in the lobby beforehand. She knows every family by name. She brings muffins on Communion Sundays. That Sunday, she sits in the back row. No muffins, no greeting. She keeps her eyes forward. A few women nod at her. Nobody stops to chat. The women's club meets the following Wednesday. Judith's seat is empty, first time in 12 years. Mrs. Patterson, the Hardings' neighbor for 30 years, a woman who has watched Marcus grow up, calls Frank. Frank, I've known Judith for 3 decades. I never thought she'd do something like this. You two need help. Frank says, I know, Janet, I know. Judith posts on Facebook the following day a photo from her own wedding to Frank 35 years ago. Both of them young and smiling in front of a church. Caption, real family stands together. 2 likes. One from a cousin in Tennessee, one from a woman she went to college with. I see the post because Mel screenshots it and sends it to me. I look at it for 10 seconds. Young Judith, smiling, standing next to a man she would spend the next 3 decades managing. I close my phone and go back to the dishes. 3 weeks after the wedding, a gift basket arrives on our front porch. Wicker, cellophane wrap, a ribbon. Inside, wine, chocolates, 2 monogrammed coffee mugs, and a small card. Thinking of you both. Love, Mom. No apology, no acknowledgement, just a gift basket, the kind you send a colleague after a promotion. Marcus sets it by the front door without opening it. It stays there for 2 days before I move it to the garage. The next week, Judith calls Marcus. He doesn't answer. She calls again, he doesn't answer. Then she calls me, I pick up, I don't know why, instinct maybe, or curiosity, or the part of me that spent 4 years hoping she'd change. Savannah, her voice is measured, warm, controlled. I think we got off on the wrong foot. Judith, Marcus sent you a letter with 3 conditions. Have you met any of them? Silence on the line. I can hear her breathing. I can hear the clock in her kitchen. The pendulum one that hangs over the stove. I'm calling to make peace. The letter explains what peace looks like. Have you acknowledged what you did? I think we're blowing this out of have you. 5 seconds of nothing. When you're ready to meet those conditions, we'll talk. Until then, I wish you well. I hang up. My hand is shaking. My voice wasn't. Marcus comes in from the yard. Who was that? Your mother. What did she say? Nothing she hasn't said before. He nods. He doesn't ask me to call her back. He doesn't suggest we give her another chance. He just nods and walks back outside to finish mowing the lawn. The gift basket is still in the garage. The chocolates melted in the Georgia heat. We never opened the wine. 1 month after the wedding, Frank calls Marcus. I'm in the kitchen making pasta. When Marcus picks up, he puts it on speaker, not for me to hear, but because he's chopping garlic and his hands are wet. I stand still by the stove. Wooden spoon paused mid-stir. Your mother hasn't been the same since the wedding. Frank's voice is low, graveled. She barely eats. She sits in the living room and just stares at the wall. Dad, she sabotaged my wife's dress with a tool she brought from home. I know, I'm not calling to defend her. Frank pauses. I hear him exhale. Long, tired. The kind of breath a man lets out when he's been holding something for decades. I'm calling because I should have stood up to her 20 years ago. When she controlled every holiday, every decision, every friendship you kids had, I let it happen. I told myself it was just how she was, and now I'm watching it destroy my family. Marcus puts the knife down. What are you saying, Dad? I'm saying I failed you, both of you, and I'm sorry. Marcus doesn't respond right away. He braces both hands on the counter, head down. When he looks up, his eyes are wet. "Thank you for saying that, Dad. I told your mother she needs therapy, not family therapy, her own therapy. Shess said I was siding with the enemy." "What did you say?" "I told her the enemy is the seam ripper in her purse." There's something almost like a laugh in Frank's voice. Almost. But it dies before it gets there. "Let me know when she changes her mind, Dad." "I will, son. Give Savannah my love." Marcus hangs up and stands in the kitchen for a long time, garlic drying on the cutting board, pasta water boiling over. 6 weeks after the wedding, an email arrives from Rachel Torres. Subject line, "Your gallery is ready." I open it at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee, Marcus looking over my shoulder. The photos load in a grid, hundreds of them, crisp and golden, the kind of images that make a day look like a painting. Me laughing with Mel in the garden. Lloyd straightening his tie in the hallway. Marcus at the altar, rubbing his eyes. The church windows throwing colored light across the pews. Champagne bubbles caught midair. And then one photo I didn't pose for. One Rachel must have taken from across the room after everything. Marcus and me walking back to our table after the confrontation. Shot from behind. My hand in his shoulders squared. Both of us moving through the reception hall together. In the background, table 4, Judith's table, is half empty. Chairs pushed back, glasses left behind. But in front of us, the rest of the room, warm light, full tables, friends still there. At the bottom of the email, Rachel wrote a short note. "Your wedding was one of the most memorable I've ever shot. Not because of what happened, but because of how you two handled it. You're going to be okay." I save that photo to my phone. Then I save it to my computer. Then I print it, I text Rachel. "Thank you, not just for the photos, for not looking the other way." She texts back 3 hours later between shoots. "That's what witnesses do." 4 words, simple. But they carry something I'll remember long after the details of this story fade. That sometimes the most important thing another person can do for you is simply not pretend they didn't see. 6 weeks after the wedding, a text from Donna. "Can we get coffee? Just us." We meet at Ridley's, a little cafe on Main Street with mismatched mugs and a chalkboard menu. Donna is already there when I arrive, sitting in the back corner, hands wrapped around a black coffee. She looks thinner, tired around the eyes. I order a latte and sit down. Neither of us speaks for a moment. Donna goes first. I should have said something at the rehearsal dinner. I should have said something at the reception. She turns the mug in her hands. I didn't because I was scared. Mom has always been like this. Not just with you, with everyone, with Dad, with me. I just never had to see it this clearly before. I know it's complicated, Donna. It's not complicated. It's cowardice. She says it flatly, like she's been rehearsing the word. I watched my mother humiliate you, and I sat there and held my water glass. I don't argue with her. She needs to say this. I'm not ready to cut Mom off. She's my mother, but I want you to know I believe you. I saw the video and I'm sorry I didn't say it sooner. That means a lot. Thank you. She nods, takes a sip, sets the mug down. Marcus chose you, she says. And I think that was the first time anyone in this family chose what was right over what was comfortable. We sit there for another 20 minutes. We talk about small things. Her job, my clinic, a stray cat Marcus and I adopted. We don't hug when we leave. We're not there yet. But when I get in my car, I realize something shifted. Note a revolution, a crack, a small one, the kind that lets light in. 3 months after the wedding, our life has a shape. Marcus and I live in a small cottage on Birch Lane. 2 bedrooms, a screened porch, a yard just big enough for a garden. We adopted 2 clinic cats, a gray tabby named Earl and a calico named June, who spend most of their time fighting over the sunny spot on the kitchen windowsill. Marcus started seeing a therapist. First session, he told me afterward, he spent 40 minutes talking about the seam ripper. Second session, he spent the full hour talking about his childhood. I didn't realize how much I'd been managing her emotions my whole life, he says one evening doing the dishes. Every decision I made went through a filter. Will this upset Mom? I didn't even notice the filter was there until it broke. Thanksgiving comes, first one without the Hardings. We cook at home. A small turkey, mashed potatoes, Mel's cornbread recipe that never comes out right, but we make anyway. My dad comes over. He brings Apian pie from the gas station because Lloyd Draper has never baked anything in his life and he's not starting now. Mel comes with her boyfriend. We eat at the kitchen table. 6 people, no assigned seating, no tension. This is the quietest Thanksgiving I've ever had. Marcus says he's smiling, a real one. And the happiest, I say. After dinner, Marcus checks his phone. A text from Frank. "Miss you, son. Turkey's not the same." Marcus types back. "Miss you too, Dad." Nothing from Judith. No call, no text, no gift basket. I clear the table and wash the dishes while Mel and Marcus argue about football in the living room. Earl sleeps on my dad's lap. June watches from the windowsill. It's quiet, it's warm, it's ours. December, 4 months after the wedding, a letter arrives in the mailbox. Not an email, not a text. A handwritten letter in a cream-colored envelope. Judith's careful cursive on the front. Marcus stares at it for a full minute before opening it. "Marcus, I've been seeing a therapist. Your father insisted and eventually I agreed. It's harder than I expected." She asks questions I don't know how to answer. He reads it aloud standing in the kitchen. I lean against the counter and listen. She asked me why I did what I did to Savannah's dress. I told her I didn't know. She said that wasn't good enough. She's right. Marcus pauses. His voice catches slightly on the next line. "I'm not ready to call yet. I don't know what to say, but I wanted you to know I'm trying. Love, Mom." He folds the letter along its creases and sets it on the table. We look at it the way you look at a door that might be opening or might just be settling in the wind. "It's not enough yet," I say. "No, but it's not nothing." "No," he says again, "it's not nothing." He doesn't throw the letter away. He puts it in the desk drawer where we keep important things. Birth certificates, the mortgage, our marriage license. We don't reply, not yet. Not because we're punishing her, but because a letter that says, "I don't know why I did it," is a beginning, not an answer. And we've learned, both of us the hard way, that the distance between acknowledging a problem and actually fixing it is measured in months, not gestures. But she used a pen. She used paper. She sat down and wrote something that couldn't be edited or deleted. That's the first real crack in 30 years of armor. On a Saturday in January, I drive out to my dad's place, 20 minutes from town, gravel driveway, the house I grew up in. The paint is peeling on the shutters, but the porch swing still works and the chimney still draws. Dad's in the garage sanding a bookshelf. He does this on weekends. Builds things nobody asked for. Gives them away to neighbors. Retirement for Lloyd Draper means sawdust and silence and the occasional baseball game on the radio. I sit on the stool next to his workbench. He hands me a sanding block without asking. We work side by side for 20 minutes without speaking. The rhythm of the sandpaper is steady. The garage smells like pine and linseed oil. Then Dad says, still looking at the wood, "Your mom would have been proud of you." My throat tightens. She would have been proud of Marcus, too. I say he's a good man, the kind who learns. We keep sanding. The radio switches from the game to a commercial for truck tires. After a while, Dad sets down his block and looks at me. "You know your mom's wedding dress? The one she wore when we got married? It's still in the attic. Plain cotton, $12 at the church thrift store. Best dress I ever saw. Dad, doesn't matter what you wear, kiddo. Matters who you stand next to." I reach over and squeeze his hand. Sawdust and calluses. He squeezes back. We finish the bookshelf by late afternoon. He loads it into his truck and drives it to the Hendersons' house 3 streets over because Mrs. Henderson mentioned last month that she needed one for her grandkids' room. On the drive home, I think about cotton dresses and $12 and Ammon who shows love by building shelves for people who need them. I'm not telling you this story, so you'll think Judith is a monster. She's a 58-year-old woman who spent her whole life building a world she could control. Her house, her church, her son's future. When I showed up, a vet from a working-class family with a dead mother and a father who builds furniture, I wasn't just the wrong bride. I was proof that her son had walked out of the life she designed for him. I understand that fear. I do, the fear of becoming irrelevant. The fear of losing the person you built your identity around. The fear that if your child doesn't need your approval anymore, maybe they don't need you at all. I understand it. But understanding doesn't mean accepting. The thing I learned isn't how to win against a mother-in-law. I never wanted to win. I wanted to belong. And when I finally accepted that belonging wasn't something she'd give me, not on her terms, not without a cost I wasn't willing to pay, I stopped waiting. Boundaries aren't punishment. Boundaries are just saying, I'm willing to love you, but I'm not willing to let you destroy me. And the thing I'm most grateful for isn't the video. It's not the confrontation. It's Marcus, a man who watched his mother's worst moment on a screen and didn't look away. Who stood up at his own wedding and said, "This is wrong," even though the person he was talking to is the first person he ever loved. That's noticey. That's not dramatic. That's just a man keeping a promise. If you're in a situation like this, you don't need a camera. You don't need 200 witnesses. You just need one sentence. I'm done accepting what I don't deserve, and you need to mean it. February, 5 months after the wedding. I'm standing in the living room of our cottage on Birch Lane, holding a hammer and a picture hook. The photo is framed. Simple black frame, white mat, Rachel's shot. Marcus and me from behind, walking back to our table after the confrontation. Hands clasped, shoulders together. In the background, table 4 is emptying. In front of us, the room is still full. Warm lights, friends, family. Lloyd standing at the edge of the frame, quiet and steady as always. I hang it above the bookshelf. Step back. Marcus comes in from the porch. You hung it. It's my favorite photo. It's not even a traditional wedding photo. No, it's better. It's real. He stands beside me. We look at the image together. 2 people walking forward, leaving a mess behind them, moving toward the people who stayed. The dress was torn, I say, but the marriage wasn't. He puts his arm around me. Earl jumps on the bookshelf and sits directly under the photo, tail twitching, completely unimpressed. The wedding wasn't what I planned. It wasn't the day I imagined when I was a little girl trying on my mother's cotton dress in front of the bathroom mirror. It was louder, harder, more honest. But that day, the day I stopped pretending, the day Marcus kept his promise, the day a photographer with 10 years of experience and a $30 GoPro gave me the truth. That was the day my marriage actually began. Not at the altar, not during the vows, but in a hallway outside a restroom, holding my husband's hand, walking back into a room full of people who saw everything. The dress was torn, but we weren't. And that's where the real story starts. Thank you for staying with me through this whole story. It means more than you know. If you've ever had to draw a line with someone in your family, or if you're still gathering the courage to do it, drop a comment and tell me about it. I want to hear from you. Are you team I would have confronted her sooner, or team Savannah handled it perfectly? Let me know. And if this story touched something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and check the description for more stories like this one. I'm Savannah, and you deserve to be respected in every room you walk.